Hi, I'm Jessica Gibson from the Huron Historical Society and the Huron Public Library. Today is April 10th, 2009, and I will be interviewing Rosemarie Clark for the Huron Oral History Project. Hi, Rose. It's nice to see you. Can you tell me about growing up in Huron?
Growing up in Huron?
Mm-hmm. Did you grow up in Huron?
Oh, I sure did, from the time I was a baby. And what are you interested in hearing?
I'm very interested in hearing. I understand your family ran a dairy. Could you tell me what it was like? Did you grow up on the dairy?
Yes, my dad had a dairy, milk route that he bought out and started the Huron Dairy. He worked for another man to begin with, and then he bought out the route, and then he sold milk with the milk can. He would go around with a buggy and a horse, not a buggy, but a milk wagon, and with a gray horse, which people really recall. And people would bring their little vessel out to the wagon, and he would take and pour the amount of milk in it that they wished to have. And I helped deliver milk when I was just a young girl. That was exciting to me, to get up 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning and go with my dad and would help him deliver milk. And in those days, people would buy a pint of milk or a quart of milk, and there was a milk delivery every day. And I think pints of milk were 6 cents, and quarts were usually 10 or 12 cents. And let's see.
Did you enjoy going? You mentioned that you enjoyed going on the route. Can you tell me anything about it? Did you go early, or was it something that you did later in the day, or?
It was early in the morning. We would start usually at 4 o'clock in the morning. Mm-hmm. And one of our first stops were up at the bakery. And oh, did that smell good in the early morning. Mm-hmm. And we would get a little roll from the baker. And then from there we would head out of town and always go up by the railroad tracks, and usually had to wait for a train. And then off we went, delivering the milk. And the horse was so well trained that she knew when to, going down Pigtail Alley, why we would be taking the milk into a customer, and the horse would take the wagon, go up around to the end of the street and turn around and come back and wait for us. And let's see, what else?
Can you tell me how far it is that you had to go? Where was the dairy located?
The dairy was located on Main Street in Huron, and right across the street was the a vacant lot, and that's where the fishermen, the big fishermen, would dry their fish nets. They have to lay those out in the ground to dry after they would mend them and dip them in some kind of tarry stuff. And
did you have your own cows, or were you getting it from your milk from somewhere else?
We got the milk from the farmers in the area. Okay. They would bring the milk in 10-gallon milk cans or 5-gallon. And then that milk was all put into before the days of pasteurization, it would go into a vat and be heated up, and then into another tank, and that had places for the milk to go through, and they would put a crate on a little platform, and you'd push the crate in there, and it would come down, and the milk would go in 3 bottles at a time, or 4 bottles at a time, and then it would cap the milk after the bottles were full, and that would go until it got the whole crate. There would be 12 in a crate, and that's where I first learned. I first learned how to save my money too, because I used to help my dad count the pennies and nickels in change from the milk deliveries, and we would put them in the little paper tubes, and take them to the bank. And the farmers would take back the skim milk after they separated the milk, and you would get cream and skim milk. And the farmers would take the skim milk back to the farms, and they paid 10 or 25 cents for a 10-gallon can of milk to feed their pigs. So it got used. And let's see.
Can you tell me around when this was happening?
Pardon?
Can you tell me around when this was happening? When were you?
When I was about, I suppose 10. And I would always help with that, and then we had little chores to do around the dairy or around home, and then it was off to the lake for the afternoon.
Was the lake a fun trip, or?
Oh, sure. Swimming in the lake from noon until supper time.
Oh, goodness.
And getting the biggest sunburn you ever saw, which is why I have damaged skin today. That was pretty much our only recreation, either that or helping with different little jobs around home.
Mostly just cleaning, or did you help? Were the bottles at all things that you kept at the dairy? What sorts of chores did you do there?
Well, there was always customers to wait on. They'd come to the dairy and buy milk. And, there were always things you needed to do. I didn't work too much in the dairy part. It was mostly I would run the dairy route, delivery. And then when I was only about, I suppose 10 years old, a car came along in back of my dad with the wagon and pushed the wagon on top of the horse. She broke her back, and so she had to be put down.
Did you continue doing the route that way after that?
After that, we started with a little truck.
Okay.
And that's where I learned how to drive, was in a little, I don't even know what it was, but the state patrolman got in the truck with me. And that's how I had my driver's test when I was 16. So then, let's see, what else?
That's very interesting. That's a very interesting story. I'd like to go back to growing up, actually, if you don't mind.
No.
I'm curious about your memories of school. Which school did you go to? What do you remember about it?
In this very building was the first and second grade.
Mm-hmm.
And Miss Carter was the teacher of the first grade. And Miss Weichel was the second grade teacher. And I went to school with we all walked to school. I don't believe there were many people that came on a bus, but we all walked, and we liked our teachers. We did everything we could to.
Did you You went through all of your school years here?
Sure did.
Okay.
Went all the way from the first, and in those days you could skip a class. And I don't know, we weren't that smart, but we got skipped a half year. Maybe it was when they changed the semesters, you know, or something. But we went and skipped a half of the third grade. Okay. And so then that was a few different people that we were in class with.
I noticed that you had brought in a photograph picture that you believe that we had here at the library. Would you mind sharing with us your memories of that picture? Anything that you'd love to share would be wonderful.
Well, this is a picture Donna Klepper had given me.
And if you could kind of hold it up too a little bit so the camera can see it too. Okay. You can
And it's the one really that shows all the girls that we chummed around with, and some were in a different class. There's Jean Maxim on here. Her dad was a captain on a boat, and they used to keep ship on it in the winter. Then we'd go over there. She'd invite one of us over to stay all night with her on the boat, and that was exciting. And Mary Lou McCormick, I think she was a class ahead of us too. And Betty Campbell, her brother was Jim Campbell of the Detroit Tigers. And Ruth Diamond, I was a cheerleader with her for a couple of years. And Phyllis Peltier, she used to be Phyllis Klein. She lived on William Street also. And all of us, as we would go through the alleys and then meet on the street, and we'd pick up whoever else was that lived on the street, and we had a whole gang of us. That was a lot of fun going to school, walking together.
Did you enjoy cheerleading? Could you tell me more about that? Was it one particular sport or football? Did you
Basketball.
Cheerlead? Basketball.
And we didn't have any professional training. We just went in there and yelled and let them in, but everybody seemed to think it was great, so it was fun.
What was the inside? I'm curious about how the schools themselves were, the buildings. Were they similar to the ones that you'd see now?
Oh.
Or were they?
People would just think, oh my, how primitive, if they knew how the school used to be. We had wooden floors, and we had a big, wide stairway that went from one level to the other. And more than one of us fell down that stairs, going up and down between classes. And we had a big, I don't know what you would call it. I've forgotten now what you call it. Room where you go when you don't have any class. And all classes went into that room. And a teacher would monitor us, you know, and that's when you could do your homework.
Like a study hall?
Study hall, like. And we had Miss Bender, I guess she's still living. She was our 4th grade teacher. Her name is Hamer now. And let's see, Miss Upperman, she was our 6th grade teacher. She lived out here on Avery Road. She was a very nice teacher too. And then Miss McCormick was our, let's see, what taught, well, anyway.
Can you tell me what you think the future holds for Huron?
Oh, I think they're doing great. I can't believe the alumni has been revived. They're doing things for the school. Mike Heidinger has put untold hours and time and ability into getting everything working And I think it's great. They have scholarships that was never even heard of way back. And help from, like, that big place in Ski Calardi, or what is it? That swim place. They donate a lot of money to the school all the time. Kalahari, is it?
Kalahari?
Yeah.
Okay.
So,
another question I have is, what's your favorite thing about Huron? What do you like about it?
oh, the fact that we all knew each other. It was small and it was friendly. And we had our beach to go swimming. And it was so much fun to watch the boats come in, you know, when we were growing up. Those big boats would turn around right in front of the house where we lived on Main Street at the dairy. And the tugboats would whistle, and the captain of the tugboat used to live right next door to us on Main Street. And there was a lot of excitement for those days. We didn't have TV, we didn't have radio. It was just the beginning of the radio time. And we used to roller skate on Ohio Street, a whole block that we would, a good share of these people, we would, all after dark, we would go and roller skate for a whole couple hours. And that was a lot of fun.
That's I think that's amazing, actually. So did you really like that time period growing up?
I sure did.
You did?
I never thought I could leave Huron, but, well, when I got married, I did leave it, and I have always come back often and enjoyed all of my friends, and we've all remained friends all through the years. And there's a few of us left in our class. We still get together every year. And but there are becoming fewer of us, so it's not quite as exciting as it used to be. Or maybe it is more exciting.
Well, let's see. I believe you have answered every question I could possibly think of, actually.
There's a lot to tell you, but it's hard when you're under pressure to think of it.
Out of curiosity, you mentioned everybody knows the horse is gray. Do you happen to remember what the horse's name was? I'm just curious about that.
The what?
Did the horse have a name?
Nellie.
Nellie? Okay. That's a good name for a horse. Okay, it looks like we are very close to our ending time. Is there anything that you'd like to add to your story at this time?
Huron's a great place.
If you don't mind, there's a few more questions I'd like to ask you. Is that all right with you?
Sure.
Okay. Can you tell me where your parents came from?
Norwalk.
Norwalk? Where in Norwalk?
Let's see. Actually, my dad came from New Washington. And my mother was from Norwalk, she lived out in the country, just east of Norwalk. Went to school in Norwalk.
Sorry, I can't read my own writing. What happened to the dairy? Can you tell me?
The dairy was in a family, taking care of some of the family members. My dad sold the dairy to my two brothers, Carl and William, and they took over then. I don't know what year that was.
Okay. Can you tell me also, was the horse named after somebody?
No.
No, wasn't named after anybody. Okay. I believe those are all of the questions that I have for you. Thank you very much for answering a few more for us.